Amy at the Grass Valley Library. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Random Acts of Science. This week, as part of our summer learning program, we are learning about the continent of Australia. And Australia is known for a lot of different things, but one thing that's super interesting about Australia is that that is where boomerangs come from. So boomerangs have been around for a really long time. In the early days, when they were first used, they were probably just a stick that was thrown to use for hunting. But as time went on and they realized that if the stick was a little bit curved, it would sometimes come back to them a little bit. And they tweaked it until at some point they realized that they could get that thing to work so that it always returned to them. Those are the boomerangs we know today. Those are called returning boomerangs. And those are mostly just used for sport. So that's what we're gonna build. Your normal boomerang that you're used to seeing is probably like a crescent with two arms on it. We're gonna build a four-armed boomerang for a couple of reasons. They're gonna work no matter the shape or material generally, and they can be made with what you have on hand. So, and you still get the effect of throwing them and having them come back to you, and you can kind of get a feel for how they work. So here's what you're gonna need. You're gonna need one piece of cardboard, and we're gonna cut it into strips. You're gonna need an X-Acto knife for that cutting. You are gonna need a ruler so that you get it to the right size. A pair of scissors, possibly, that's optional, and either a stapler or some tape. I'm gonna use some tape because it's just readily available and it seems to work pretty well. So the first thing you're gonna do is take your cardboard. You're gonna cut it into two strips that are 2 inches wide by 14 inches long. And those are gonna be the two parts of the boomerang that we're gonna fasten together in an X shape to make the four-armed boomerang. So once you get them cut out, you are gonna just take some masking tape. You could also use duct tape. You could use electrical tape. There's a lot of different ways you can put this thing together, but just making sure that it's secure and it's gonna stay put is the biggest thing. It doesn't have to be perfect. But it should be fairly straight. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, so that's not going anywhere. So this is your end product. It's gonna look something like this. You might wanna make a couple of them because they do tend to bend a little bit over time, but throwing a boomerang is a whole nother part of this experiment. So let's head outside and we'll teach you how to throw one. So I've got my boomerang, I'm outside. It's not super windy, but here's the thing about throwing a boomerang. You wanna throw it vertically like this. You don't wanna throw it this way. You wanna throw it as if you are throwing an axe or something like that. And the important part is to get a flick in your wrist that makes it start to rotate as much as possible right away. So, and you want to throw it pretty hard. If you just kind of let it drop, not much is going to happen. So, let me give it a shot and I'll show you what I mean. So I hope that your boomerang worked as well as this one did, if not better. I would love to hear how it went for you. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode of Random Acts of Science.